Before our initial thoughts of 18.4, we have a really serious matter to address. Last week, after our 18.3 thoughts, we had a YouTube user, his name was HBK358, who said that my two trusted coaches were high, thinking that somebody was going to finish. So because two people finished, we thought we had an interesting way to start this by addressing what we like to do at TTT with trolls. All right, now to 18.4. Last week, we didn't announce what the workout was beforehand. So again, we've got Kyle's trusty diagrams here. So the workout starts out with Diane, 21-15-9, deadlift at 225, 155, and handstand push-ups. And then we go right into 21-15-9, deadlift at 315, 205 for the women, and a 50-foot handstand walk between each of those sets of deadlift. This is a 9-minute cap workout.
Will we call this a diagram, though? I mean, you just wrote the workout out.
Hey, I wrote it pretty, therefore it's a diagram. All right, so getting into some of the stuff that, like the meat of this workout. Number one, movement standards have changed dramatically since last year. So make sure that you go look those up. But just to kind of cover this, there's a new handstand push-up standard. We went out and tested it. It's a little bit more complex than years before in terms of measuring it, and you really have to finish your reps.
Yes. So a couple of things that we noticed, you have to slide your hands in a little bit more to be secure, or at least be confident that you're going to get over the line. And it is different athlete to athlete as compared to last year, where it's kind of everybody was getting over by the same amount, right? So make sure you play around with that beforehand and make sure that you are practicing the speed that you're going to have in the workout when you're warming up, making sure you're getting over the tape. Have somebody watch every single rep for that.
Something I noticed when we were out there is that some of the athletes that were struggling to get over the line need to make adjustments to their body line, the way that they're holding their torso. So if you're someone who's out there and, you know, before the workout starts and you're testing it out, and you're like, man, I'm not making it over, I'm not making it over, make adjustments to the way that you're holding your torso, and you should be able to get that extra 1 or 2 inches that you need to get over the line.
Absolutely.
In terms of the handstand walk, we just picked out some stuff that we thought was pretty pertinent from the movement standard. Number one, hands must start behind the line. You actually saw, I think, Gunman Singh get a no rep during the workout for that, and you must turn around. You cannot do a 50-foot straight shot. There has to be a 25-foot turnaround in there. But like we said, make sure you go look these up. We don't want you guys to get a video invalidated because, you know, we misquoted it, and just don't get a video invalidated because you don't know the rules of your sport.
Yeah, with the handstand walk real quick, one of the things, I actually just kicked up and did one in there, and it is very easy to put your fingers on the line. You're always used to just having your feet behind the line and then kicking up past. So I just kicked up real quick, and my fingers were really close, even though I thought I was going to be way behind. So practice that in your warm-ups as well. It's a little bit different than what we've had in the past.
And for those of you who are looking for regional qualifying spots, if this could be a video that they pull because it's a little bit shorter, you know, it's going to be a little bit easier in their review process, I would make sure that if your hands do cross the line, have a judge that no reps you, because the last thing you want to do is lose, you know, essentially that entire handstand walk, which is 5 reps in the workout. So moving on from there, let's cover equipment setup just quickly. Number one, you can set up 2 barbells. You don't have to set up 1 barbell. So you saw that in the announcement. Make sure that you have 2 barbells set up. And if you don't have access to 2 barbells because you're doing it like a Friday Night Lights scenario, then have someone else add weights for you.
Yeah, the one thing that I will say is if you only have 1 barbell, you're going to have to make sure those people that are adding your weights, add them quickly if you're someone that's trying to move fast through the workout, because 9 handstand reps is what you're on when you change bars. That's only going to take 9 to 10 seconds unless you're breaking them up. But for the elite males and females, that will be probably 9 unbroken. So you're going to have to get your weight changed pretty fast. Or if you know you're going to take your longer transition there, plan that just so you're not waiting around for the barbell to be loaded.
Just like any other CrossFit workout, transitions are going to matter for this. So one of the things that we wanted to do tonight was actually take you guys into the gym to show you the equipment setup. So Brandon, let's actually head into the tank so people can see that. To illustrate the setup, we've got Brandon who's just going to walk through this. We think this is probably the fastest way to create the transitions between the movements. This may not be necessary based on how heavy the second deadlift is here, but we just wanted to kind of illustrate this because it was a little bit hard to explain. So Brandon, what we've got, deadlift set up here perpendicular. So go ahead and do your fake deadlift.
So this would be the 225 bar for Diane. I would do my deadlifts. Once I finish my 21 reps, I'll just do a half turn and then kick into my handstand push-up. Start my handstand push-ups from here, kick down, half turn, back into my deadlift setup.
So absolute minimum transitions here. Even if you are going to rest before you get back on the barbell, this minimizes movement. It's going to minimize rest time. It just kind of encourages you to get back to the barbell a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Then after his last set of handstand push-ups on the Diane, he can turn right around, go right into the 315-pound bar. You can have 2 bars set up for this workout, so that's going to be fine. And then as soon as he's done, he can step right into it and kick up for the handstand walk.
Show us!
Brannen, Brannen. Woo! That might have been a no rep. I'm not sure his palm was behind the. No rep.
Is that it?
That's it. And now back to the room.
And we're back.
We're back. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about pacing. Brandon, I'll let you kind of lead off this conversation. I'll give you my notes as we go.
I mean, the first thing that you see, I know everybody sees the handstand walk, right? But the first thing that popped up for a coach would be there are 90 deadlifts in the workout. And the first thing that came up in my mind was there are 45 of those deadlifts at a heavy load, and that reminds me of 14.3, right? So what that 315 or 205 is going to feel like is the 315 or 205 bar during 14.3 if you've done that workout, right? There were 60 deadlifts before that with, I think it was like 135, 95, 225, 155, and then 175, 135
And
or something like that.
sprinkling of box jumps.
Right, with box jumps. Now we have it where it's just at 225 or 155, but it's going to feel the same once you get to the 315 and 205 bars. So you got to keep that in mind, okay? If you're someone that's good at deadlifts and you know that, hey, you crushed the 315 or the 205 bar in 14.3, I think this is a workout that you actually can push the pace relatively fast in the first part, get to it, and then you're just grinding on those 315 deadlifts like those in 14.3.
Yeah, if you watch the guys in the announcement, they actually were way slower than they could be in terms of a Diane pace on that first 21.15.9 at the lighter barbell. If you're someone who is very confident, and I actually think Panchik did that fairly well for his capacity. I think he paced it very well, and he went. He was able to open up quite a bit on the 315-pound bar. But if you're someone who's really strong at the deadlift, I actually think you can go quite a bit faster on that first part, assuming that you have, good capacity on handstands and things like that.
Sure. You can break up the deadlifts on the first part and still get about a 45-second lead on where their splits were at if you're just fast on the handstand push-ups. And we're talking, the elite males and females at this point. If you're someone that's not, if you know that the deadlifts are going to catch up to you, I think the strategy would be closer to what Panchik did with, as far as just figuring out where your breaks are going to be and have that planned beforehand. So it may just be, 7s on the first set, or you're doing, 5, 5, 5, 5, and then end with a single, and then you go to 5s on the second set, or whatever that may be, to give you some leeway going into the 315 or 205 bar. The other thing that you have in this workout, though, is the new handstand push-up standard and how that's going to affect people. So they went unbroken on them, but I don't think you have to get an elite time here. If you know that you're not as good at handstand push-ups, kick down on those and don't waste time failing reps, because that's an easier way just to get back on the bar or get back on the wall after 7 reps, come back down, do 7 reps, come back down, do 7 reps. And that gives you time, if you know your deadlifts aren't very good, to get back and then do a quick set there.
What you're saying is it's less taxing to kick up and do a handstand push-up than it is to overcome the inertia on the first rep of a deadlift.
Yes.
Agreed 100%. Something else that I kind of wanted to ask you about. What do you think about second attempts on this workout? Do you think this is going to be a repeatable workout?
Well, I
for most
didn't
people?
think last week was going to be a repeatable workout, and people did, thousands of double unders, which blows my mind. But I think it's going to be very hard to do so, but I do think a lot of people are going to repeat it, right? Like I don't put it past any CrossFitter now to do workouts multiple times. And the reality is, if you're fighting for a regional spot right now, you're going to probably have to if you see other people getting better scores than you. I do think this is one, though, that's easy to execute the first time. If you warm up well and if you know where you're at on your deadlifts and the handstand push-ups and handstand walks, then it's easy to go out there and say, this is my plan, this is how I'm going to break up the 225, this is how I'm going to break up the 315, and you can grind through it. The nice thing about a deadlift is, more than any of the other movements, you really can grind through it without having the metabolic stress of like a thruster or some of the other global movements that we'll probably see next week.
Yeah.
Right? But if you did 21-15-9 thrusters and at a heavy load, it's going to change the game, but you can always pick the bar back up with a deadlift.
Kind of bouncing off that, one of my recommendations for my athletes is going to be to use Friday potentially as like a stimulative session to go out, test out the new handstand push-up standard, test out the new handstand walk standard, and just get as familiar with those things as possible, work on their transitions, go through some of the hinge movements and things like that. That way they're feeling prepared for it, and then actually do the workout on Saturday. That'll only give them 1 day of recovery between their first attempt and their repeat, but if you're trying to go to regionals, it's better to get your first one right and do everything right the first time. And then if you have to do a second one, go ahead and execute it. But if you don't have to, that's always a preferred thing. So that's definitely a conversation I'm going to have with my athletes this week.
Absolutely. So as far as warming up goes, I think that's going to be a big one for this workout, especially with that many deadlifts. I know we talked about this before we got on camera, so what were your thoughts on that?
So the first thing, obviously, we got handstand push-ups and deadlift. We get primary hinge movement. We've got a primary like open shoulder movement. So making sure that those two movement patterns essentially are prepped are going to be big. Some things that I've got on here, like a feet supported, like kick up into a handstand and do a bridge hold, right? That way you're working on breathing in that handstand and handstand walking position. Getting in, opening up the lats, opening up the pecs so that you have a little bit more freedom going overhead. Spending some time with the wrists and opening that up. Stands to squat to stands, cook squats, and then trunk stiffness work as always. I mean, with a workout like this, you want to make sure that you're keeping your spine stable throughout the workout. The more stable you start out, the less it's going to deteriorate as the workout goes on.
Absolutely. So I think going back through kind of a broad review of everything, make sure you check your movement standards. The two big ones would be the handstand push-up and the handstand walk, because those things have changed. Now you have to make sure that you get over the line a little bit harder than previous years, and then be behind the line in the handstand walks. As far as pacing, the first part of this workout is going to be determined by how good you are at deadlifts and if you can do handstand walks at the end of the workout. So if you're confident, then go after the first part, go after the first part as fast as you can and see where you can end up by grinding out some 315 deadlifts, and then warm up well, right? I mean, I think that's going to be a huge part to being able to do that many pulls in this workout.
Start with good positions, and as it deteriorates, it's going to cost your body a little bit less. The other thing, as always, prioritize your recovery between the workouts. Get that extra 30 minutes of sleep, spend some time opening up the next day, going through some basic movement patterns and actually doing a cool down. Yeah, so quickly, I just wanted to add, one of our coaches pointed out that there is a tie break in this workout, and we didn't mention that. The tie break happens after the last completed set of deadlift. So if you're someone who's looking, knows that you're going to get bottlenecked on the handstand walk, then make sure you complete, up to that point as quickly as possible. So that'll be the tie break. In terms of recovery and warm up and things like that, it's always good to check out our competition guide. We've got a ton of information in there. I know Brannen had mentioned that his athletes have been using it. I know my athletes have been putting it to use, both for planning the workouts and getting adequate recovery post-workout and taking care of nutrition and things like that. Then we've got one other thing. Tomorrow, we've got Max coming out with his thoughts on the workout after he actually gets a chance to see some of our elite athletes and some of our on-site competitors go through. So make sure you check that out. I think that's all we've got for you tonight.
Good luck.